Turn to crime in the region. We've been talking about this a lot, obviously, because of the incessant nature of crime in our area. In particular, it has become a focal point of residents in the District of Columbia this week. Mayor Muriel Bowser's latest crime bill is before the council. Now, D.C. said 40% increase in violent crime just this week. An FBI agent was carjacked at gunpoint. Want to welcome back in a longtime friend of this program, Robert McCartney. He's a longtime Washington Post columnist and correspondent, and is currently the host of Think Regionally podcast from the Metropolitan Council of Governments. Bob, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Before we get into the numbers here, people have talked about comparing to what we're going through right now to, back 30 years ago. Are there echoes of it to you?
Well, there's
here for it.
Yeah, there's an increase in crime right now, in violent crime right now, which is very dramatic and getting a lot of attention. But it hasn't come anywhere near the same levels as we had during the crack epidemic. The levels then, the numbers then were much higher than now. But since there's been a big decrease since then, over the last 20, 30 years, now that it's rising so much, it's gotten a lot of people worried, and it's putting a lot of pressure on Bowser and the council.
And, we should point out there are some trends that are going on now that weren't going on, 30 years ago. So this is the Crime Trends Now Amendment Act. It calls for cracking down on open-air drug markets, drug-free zones, making organized retail theft a felony and illegal to wear a mask for the purposes of committing a crime. Obviously this is, these two, I think, are something that we've heard before.
We did it before.
Yeah, we did it before. This is kind of a new trend, so I'd like to kind of start here. We're talking about, especially on this one, these, large groups of people coming into stores and just throwing their arms down the shelves and pouring this stuff. And, the store employees have been told, let this happen. Some stores have taken to the point of putting pictures of their items on the shelves because they don't want to have the items on there to be tempting to steal it to begin with. Is this something that big cities in particular are going to have to start dealing with now across the country?
Absolutely, and national retail groups have raised the alarm about this. This is happening all over the country. You get gangs of people wearing masks. I mean, we've all seen them because of the store security videos, and they go in, they go quickly, they often have hammers, they smash the glass cases, they like to steal jewelry or very valuable purses or coats, stuff like that, and they do it the new phenomenon here, the new thing here is that you've got organized gangs doing it. And that bill that you just showed, that's Mayor Bowser's proposed bill.
Right.
And it would actually, I think for the first time, make these kind of organized gang retail thefts a felony, which they haven't been before.
While this bill was introduced this week, the D.C. Council picked it up. The mayor was over in Dubai, and there was some criticism of that because, the argument was, why are you over there in Dubai talking about, D.C. as a possible tourist destination or all this other stuff where there's, real work to be done on the ground here right now. And I believe it was some kind of Bloomberg sponsored forum that was going on over there.
It's a forum on climate change also.
It didn't look good.
I think the optics were bad for the mayor because there's just been such an upsurge in concern about crime, and there was a public discussion of this on Wednesday where a lot of residents came in and aired their grievances, so she wasn't here for that. But this thing was scheduled a long time ago. I mean, she wants to do something about climate change, which is obviously an important issue, and she travels overseas in order to promote tourism and investment. So it's sort of a balancing act for her.
There's an old adage in politics that nothing good happens in a second term. Mayor's in her third term.
Right.
How problematic has this crime issue been for her and her, inability to put an end to it?
Right. Well, this is happening all over the country. Let's make that clear. I mean, there's been an upsurge in crime since COVID all over the country. It has been worse in the district than in a lot of other major cities. So we are a bit of an outlier there. And as you say, the third term is going to be rough. You know, people begin to get tired of things that don't seem to get solved. I mean, crime has been a problem in the district for as long as I can remember, probably as long as you can remember. It just happens to be getting much worse right now, and it definitely has her. This is the main issue that has her on the defense.
You know, one of the things that the new police chief was saying to deal with stuff like this is that they need a surge of police officers. We had just come through in the 2020s about a conversation of whether or not we had too much policing. Has the lesson been learned now that we do need more police to deal with this problem, otherwise it's going to get worse?
Well, there's an ideological divide about this. I mean, after the George Floyd murder in Minnesota and all the police reforms that came in then, the pendulum sort of swung back now to where there's more popular support for getting tough on criminals rather than limiting the hands of police. And I think that what you're seeing now is a sort of a collision course between these two views of what's the best way to do it.
I think a lot of people, we have, as of right now, we have 917 carjackings in the city right now. We got to go. Bob McCartney, host of the Think Regionally podcast. We'll have more for you right after this break. Fox 5's on the Hill.